evening and welcome to episode 213 of the HHH Racing Podcast. I am your proud host, Howard Krauts. Thanks for joining us on a beautiful Thursday night. As here in the Chicago area, we're anticipating in the northern suburbs about 3 to 4 inches of snow. Welcome to winter, everyone. Hopefully it's a lot warmer where you are and the weather will be better. Please make sure you subscribe on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. Hit that notification bell. We'd greatly appreciate that. And then also smash that like button. All of that will help us grow the channel. And it's been growing by leaps and bounds just every single day. We have more subscribers. We have more people following on Twitter. We're over the moon with all the energy that we've been able to bring to horse racing fans throughout the country and the world, for that matter, on YouTube and on our website. So thank you very much for all of that. Please make sure you follow me on Twitter at HKravitz. You see on the bottom of the screen, just reached over 1,200 followers today. So appreciate that. And then also on the bottom of the screen, my email, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. Of course, we have the listening platform, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Anchor. You should check those out also if you do not have a chance to watch us on YouTube. Power picks, very exciting. I brought this up yesterday. If you did not have a chance to watch episode 212, which I had last night, I pulled a solo job talking about Oaklawn. We now are offering an annual yearly subscription with our power picks. And with that, you get 2 free months plus also goodies. So if you are a current subscriber, highly recommend you switch over to our annual subscription. If you have not subscribed at all, you can either subscribe weekly or yearly, but the yearly subscription is the best way to go for sure. Let me just very briefly talk about that as I'm going to bring this up right now on the screen. There it is right there. This is for people that are already subscribed mainly. So again, it says anytime underneath the when section, but really this subscription offer only is through this month in December. So you cannot do this once the year starts in 2023. But again, it's 15% off. It's basically 2 months free. It's a $30 discount. Plus, I will have extra handicapping videos on the picks that will not be available to the public. So this is really a fantastic opportunity. Highly recommend you look into the annual/yearly subscription as opposed to the monthly subscription. I really think that would be a great. And also, very excited to announce, I talked with this last night, we are in the process of developing a new show as part of the HHH Racing Podcast that will involve one of my wonderful co-hosts, which I'll be bringing on here in just a minute. We're not going to give all the details yet, but it's going to start in January, most likely Wednesday nights. We're really excited about that new show that will be coming up that we are in the process of developing as we speak. And then finally, a fantastic website, hhhracingpodcast.com. That is mainly managed by Pete Visco, another fantastic co-host, of course, on the show. Check out hhhracingpodcast.com. And for a very specific reason, which we're going to talk about here in just a minute, because of another co-host. So our co-hosts are rocking it out. And, well, let's just not wait any longer because I can't wait to talk to all of them. First, from the East Coast of Maryland, we've got Mr. Pete Visco from the Saratoga Special, who just wrote a fantastic article we're going to talk about just a little bit, Mr. Paul Halloran. And, of course, from the local Chicago area, our good younger friend, Mr. Kyle Roscoe. Gentlemen, a lot to talk about. How are we all doing tonight?
Good as always.
What's up, fellas?
Kyle, been doing any shopping recently for anything in particular? I don't know. I've heard. I don't know.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, I don't know. I don't know either. I heard you're looking for a new car, perhaps, or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, well, good luck with the car shopping. We all appreciate that, and we'll try to help you out with that if possible. Paul, I want to start with you real quickly. You wrote a fantastic article. For people that do not know Paul Halloran's journalistic expertise, it was in fine form for sure. And Paul, you don't have to talk a lot about it, but I'm just going to very briefly show everyone at least the front page of an article that you've recently written, and you can just very briefly tell everyone what this was about and where people can find this article, Paul.
Yeah, so we've talked about, everyone is obviously aware of the Cody's Wish story by now, and I became really aware of it back on Travers Day, and this was Tom Law's idea. I have to give him credit for the idea. Once the news came that Cody Dorman was winning the Big Sport of Turfdom Award, which is given out by the Turf Publicists of America, the racetrack publicists, who, is someone who is made a big impact on racing. So, everyone knows the story now, but I became, as I say, really aware of it. The Forego was on Saturday on the Travers undercard, and we weren't publishing again until Wednesday. And I had about 3 days to really dig into it. And, I was fortunate to talk to his dad, Kelly, and as you'll read in the column, if you do read it, was able to kind of do an impromptu interview with Cody. A lot of people did that Breeders' Cup week. I'm proud to say I did it in the first week of August. He answered a few questions. And, as you guys know, I have a 23-year-old daughter, Martha, who has autism, different situation than Cody, but, same church, different pew, as we Catholics would say. So it hit home and they sent me videos of Cody, and I sent Martha made a video saying hi to Cody, and so we just kind of made a connection, And look, everyone wants part of the story, and I was happy to just make a connection and sent him a Saratoga special hat, as you'll see in the column, and so when he won the award, Tom Law said, you kind of have a connection to this story. Why don't you write a column about it? So I did. So I just basically went back to the beginning for me, which was the morning of the Travers, getting the assignment to cover the Forego and the Sword Dancer, won by Gufo, Pete. The Godolphin people were great. Michael Banahan connected me with Mary Bourne, who was actually the woman who suggested they name the horse for Cody. And she connected me with Kelly Dorman, and Kelly connected me with his wife, Leslie, and we talked to Cody. And, so I that was really, one of the things I'm really proud to be a part of the special, how it is the type of story we do. And not the column, I'm talking just the race coverage. We don't just cover a race and say, Jackie's Warrior won the race and she went 6 furlongs in 109 and 2. And, we throw in a few quotes. We really try to dig a little deeper. And, it's nice when you have 3 days to do it too. So anyway, I just kind of wrote a personal reflection on my connection to the story and kind of incorporated my daughter Martha. And they liked that I texted you before the show, Howard. They traveled. They took Cody to Arizona to the symposium to accept that award. Kelly Dorman, his dad, also first time flying. For Kelly, their daughter Kylie, and Cody, first time flying. I think Leslie had flown before. Wow. And he actually texted me from the Atlanta airport on a layover on the way home. He had seen the story. So again, everyone wants to feel a part of a story like that. I just feel privileged that I kind of maybe got a little bit more of an up close experience than the average person. So I appreciate you bringing it up.
Paul, it's so cool, and I mean, anyone that has children with special needs just to get on a plane and just deal. Oh. There are so many things, and I know I've talked about this a little bit. I have 3 autistic nieces and nephews. They are higher functioning. One is Asperger's. The other 2 are higher functioning, etc. But just to move around and travel, with kids that have special needs, it's a huge task, and it's so it's just so cool they'd be able to get on a plane. And what this horse has brought them, Paul, is just, I mean, memories that they've brought to all of us. And I haven't shared this story either, but I do want to share this story very briefly. And Kyle is probably aware of this. When we were at the BCBC, Paul, we were in a place called the Bluegrass Room at Keeneland, which is on the 2nd floor. It was specifically reserved for people playing in the BCBC. These are hardcore bettors, right, Paul? These are people that are betting thousands of dollars in a $10,000 buy-in. When Cody's Wish won, and this is the first time I've ever seen this, ever in my entire life, live at a racetrack. Again, we're in a room with hardcore bettors, mainly males. Okay, and they show the winner's circle and what they're doing the interview and all that, and I'm telling you, there were grown men shedding tears. I almost shed a tear. I have to admit, people were clapping after the interview, whether people had Cody's wish or not. It was surreal, Kyle. I don't know if you were in the room at the time, but it was really pretty cool.
I wasn't in the room actually. I was outside. We watched that race live. That was the start of of everything with
Of the Drew
Drew. And
Cody run.
yep, and everyone knows that story that's listened to this podcast. So that was the start of that run. But yeah, I mean, literally everyone, I talked about it earlier. It's super cool when the horses come back in Keeneland after the Breeders' Cup. Everyone gives them a standing ovation. Everybody claps. But it was even louder than some of those races coming down the stretch. It was absolutely amazing.
Kyle, your sound is going in and out a little bit. Just to let you know, I don't know, which doesn't usually happen with you. Pete, before we go on and talk about the handicapping of things, is there a moment, Pete, you can think of in your entire lifetime you've been at the track and it was maybe not you or other people just were brought to such powerful emotions for whatever reasons?
No. I mean, I don't think I've been there on anything with such a powerful backstory. So generally you're there and people are happy about the horses and the racing, not necessarily something that's happening behind the scenes that elevates above the racing. And by the way, not to diverge, but Paul, in the midst of a wonderful soliloquy there, still happened to call Jackie's Warrior a she. So just for the record, everybody can have a drink for that. Just wanted to point that out.
I'm doing it on purpose now, Pete.
Now you got a real cocktail, so now you're ready.
Howard, last thing on that, hats off to Larry Collmus. I was watching the network. I mean, the live Keeneland feed from beautiful Aqueduct Racetrack. But if you go watch the replay, and it was a close finish. It wasn't like Cody's Wish had it locked up at the 8th pole. Larry Collmus obviously ready to go, but the wishes come true. That one's for you, Cody. And I mentioned that in my column. It has to be one of the great race-ending calls of all time because it really, I mean, that's what's going to live forever. I'd love to think my column's going to be around forever, but it's probably has a shelf life. But that call will be memorialized forever. And hats off to Larry. And I listen to a podcast, Howard, and we're going to get Larry on the show, by the way. Make a note of that, Howard. We're going to get Larry on the show. Larry, of course, the announcers make their flashcards. Larry will make a flashcard for every horse in the Breeders' Cup and with the silks drawn. And then on the back, he'll write the name. And for 2 weeks, he studies the names. And obviously, for the Breeders' Cup, it's a Herculean task. He sent a personal letter to Cody with that flashcard, telling the dad, Cody, if anyone deserves this, it's you. So hats off to Larry as well.
Nah, Larry did a great job. And my BC ended with Cyberknife there. But if I was going to lose that race and get out of the tournament, Paul, there's no horse that I wanted to win or get beat by more than Cody's Wish. Guys, before we get into handicapping, I don't know if people are paying attention. I thought this was sort of a dead time in horse racing. A few little tidbits that people are paying attention. Johnny Velasquez fined for too many for the crop, for too many, whip taps on 7. Too many whip taps on Mind Control. But, of course, people like Pete Visco are saying, thank you, Johnny V. I appreciate that. No, I'll help you pay that fine. Tyler's Tribe is running tomorrow, guys, at Oaklawn. Fortunately, he's recovered from the really bad bleeding issue at the Breeders' Cup. Gets Lasix tomorrow at Oaklawn, by the way, in his 3 to 5 morning line. And if people are paying attention, in about 2 weeks from now, you've got Santa Anita opening up and the Gulfstream Championship meet both opening up the day after Christmas. The riding colony at Santa Anita, wow. Just recently, Louis Contreras, a very good rider from Woodbine, guys, is also going to be in Southern California, now joining Johnny V, DeTore, Pratt, who, by the way, just won 6 on the last day at Del Mar, along with other really good riders, Juan Hernandez, Vasquez. I mean, DeSormo's back. Pete, the Southern California riding colony is going to be tremendous this winter.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, you get excited about that because it's usually the New York side that gets the big names like that. But that's Southern Cal it's up there with as good as you'll ever see now. So, and you forgot, I don't think you mentioned Reese Billy. He's awesome
No,
too.
I
And
didn't.
there's so many. It's going to be good, and it's going to be. I mean, it's probably still Pratt on the top of it, and then some other people behind. But I love Frankie Dettori. We'll get the Italians in as my man Ralph Conti's on there. So I love Frankie. So hopefully he can springboard his way up to the top as well.
Well,
Paul
Howard won't be betting him, Pete. Howard doesn't like the
No,
Italian. He
he's
doesn't
not
like
going to
the
bet any
Italian
Dettori.
horses.
I
And he
guarantee
doesn't like
you.
the Italian jockeys,
I
clearly,
guarantee
Pete.
he doesn't pick one Dettori horse. He better hope in Italian doesn't ride with Dettori there. We'll never.
Did I not laud the praises with Chad Brown live of In Italian? Did I not?
You were gritting your teeth the whole time. We saw you.
Um,
This is a funny joke by Ralph, by the way. That's half true. They might not even be
Wow.
able to ride in all the races.
I don't know.
not enough.
They're I mean, he's saying it tongue in cheek, but actually their horse population's increasing because there's more turf horses from Europe that are now in Southern California. And Paul and Kyle, just on the last note, I'm fascinated. Either one of you feel free to comment. Supposedly Dettori's going to, is one of the reasons is to try to get a Derby mount. I'm fascinated to see when Baffert's got his monsters. Is it going to be Dettori on? Is it going to be Pratt? Is it going to be, who's going to ride? Juan Hernandez is ridden for him.
Yep.
It's going to be fascinating to see who gets first call for his, big time 3-year-olds, guys.
Well, if he wants a Derby mount this year, he might want to stay away from the Baffert horses because he's ineligible for the Derby this year. So,
you know what I mean? That might.
Although it could be he could pick up a Baffert horse that transfers to another barn, obviously.
Yeah.
But he did say that, Howard. He committed to the meet, and he did say, he's at a point in his career, and I think I mentioned I'm about 2/3 of the way through his book. That I read books very slowly because I tend to read racing form more than books.
Don't you just do everything a little bit more slowly these days, Paul?
Yeah, pretty much. Yes,
including refereeing, from my understanding.
Yes, I'm on the injured list already. But no, he's at a point in his career that he can kind of really do whatever he wants, right? And supposedly he might have had another falling out with Gosden again. Whatever the reason, you're right, Howard. It's really intriguing to put him in the mix out there. You might have an Italian and a Frenchman being the top two guys out there.
That'd be interesting. That would be interesting. Last
You
thing,
just like the French too, Howard, or just the Italians?
I love all peoples of the world. Kyle, real quick, I think it's important that we grow that sort of 18 to 30 age group. And I think it's really important for us. Male, female, doesn't matter. And you're going to be a big part of our new show. And I talked about it yesterday, so the cat's out of the bag. The plan as of now is for you to host. And I don't want to talk too much about the show, but Kyle, we're going to have some younger co-hosts with you as well and try to bring in that younger audience. Of course, our entire audience will be very welcome to join us, but it'll be geared a little more towards the younger audiences, right, Kyle?
Absolutely, yeah. It's not so much younger audiences as, what we're aiming for, but we're aiming for, a little bit more laid back. Obviously, this show is very informative with, watching replays and going through everything like that. We're going to aim to be a little bit more laid back with it. We're going to have a little more fun, maybe incorporate a little bit of brews and booze with the picks and stuff like that. But we should be, we're going to have a fun time. So if you're feeling with us, come join us on Wednesday nights.
Yeah, there may be some alcohol involved in our
I'm practicing, Kyle. I'm getting ready.
That's what I like to see. Paul's for guest first week.
Kyle, I hate to do this to you, but you're I don't know. This never happened to you at home. The mic is going in and out, and you guys hear it too, right, Pete and Paul?
It's just going in.
I can still hear them, but
we can hear you fine. It's not a delay. It's like it goes really soft and it gets louder. So I don't know.
You didn't bring that. You didn't bring that.
Kyle,
that bad Howard Kravitz Wi-Fi with you to your house, did you?
Kyle, I'm gonna stay linked on. I'm just gonna take you off the screen. You can see if you can figure out what's going on there. We'll bring you right back. Okay, so guys, we're gonna jump into Gulfstream here. They have 5 races on Saturday. They're late pick 5, and it's interesting because there's no dirt races at all, which is fascinating. They have 3 turf, 2 synthetic. Now, the Tapeta, Paul, you talked about before the show. People have given Gulfstream a bit of crap for the Tapeta, but let me just say this. I think what they're doing is excellent. And the reason is they're putting cheaper races, Pete and Paul, on the Tapeta for the one purpose to save the turf course. You can't complain about the Tapeta races and then also complain, well, the turf course is getting, chewed up. It's got to be one way or another, guys. They put in the Tapeta for the, explicit reason is to put some of the lower level horses that prefer that kind of surface, or at least Tapeta or turf, on that to save the turf course for their bigger races. So I have no problem with it, guys. I don't know how you feel in general. I think it's going to work out fine. And Pete, the turf course, they've already run some races on the turf, looks absolutely spectacular, and has been getting rave reviews so far down at Gulfstream, Pete.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like, and it looks beautiful. So I agree with you 100%. I'm never one to, I think we talked about it when it came on.
100%?
I did. I know. Well, Kyle's back, so I have to say that. Is that the name of the new show, by the way? 100% with Kyle? 100% handicapping or something?
Oh, not bad.
We're working on new names, actually.
Production meeting on the show.
Not bad, Pete.
Well, Pete and Paul, we can talk to you guys about that off air or on here. We're working on names right now.
I want to be a guest. I can shave the gray out of the beard if we're going to do some drinking on there.
100% was not part of the plan, but we could maybe mix it in.
Yeah, I think I never liked the complaints. I think we talked about it when we first were switching to it. I never liked the complaints about the surface, just because once you get enough horses running on it, like the races we're going to look at later. Those horses that run a bunch of races on I still call it the synthetic, but they run a bunch of races on it. So you can handicap it like any other race, and it saves the turf, like you said. So I think it works all the way around.
Yeah, I agree. All right, guys, let's jump right in. People impatiently. Penn State, you stole my fun. We might have a liquor that is 100 proof, which would be pretty intense if we did that. But
I know
anyway.
If he went to Penn State, he's probably a drunk like I was. So good job, Penn State's got. That's what we do.
I'll stay away from that one. Guys, let's jump into race 6. I thought this is a very difficult sequence, by the way, gentlemen, in my opinion. Race 6 is the start of the Pick 5. It starts with a $70,000 purse of maiden special weight 2-year-olds going 1 mile in the turf. The weather is going to be absolutely fine. I checked this weekend, and guys, why do I keep doing that? It better be fine, because I'm actually going to be at Gulfstream the week before Christmas and into Christmas. It wasn't originally planned, but I'm going down with my brother. I'll be there for 5 days. He's never been to Gulfstream, guys. I'm going to take him there, and we maybe we'll have seats in Wesley Ward's box, because we have some possible connections. So I don't know if we're going to see Wesley Ward or talk to him, but might get some really nice seats. We'll see how that goes. Anyway, guys, here we go. You see our picks on the bottom of the screen. I'm going to actually have our wonderful wordsmith Paul go first, and the reason is because, Paul, you and I have the same picks. Of course, that's why you're going to go first. Yeah. We're going to go with the as it turns out, whoops, I didn't do let me refresh to get the morning lines. There we go. The morning line favorite, who I didn't know because I didn't handicap them with morning lines, the number 7, OK Boomer. This is a Kentucky bred for Pletcher and Saez. What'd you like about this horse, Paul?
Well, I'll tell you. You want to tell you what I like? What I don't like is that he's going to be overbet. But it is Pletcher and Saez. In getting into Pete's world here, Noble Mission as a sire with 2-year-old first-time starters is only 6%, which doesn't throw me. This is the second foal of the dam, I believe, South African dam. The dam was a winner on turf. I thought, I agree with you, Howard. I think it's a competitive race, but I'll tell you, there was no one on here among the horses who have run who really jumped off the page at me. And in fact, they didn't even, crawl off the page. So I kind of defaulted to Pletcher and Saez, but I'll be honest with you, I don't think this horse goes 5-2. I think 2-1 or maybe, I think so. But
wow.
Again, if we're talking about a pick 5 sequence, it's this is obviously it's an absolute use, and I put the horse on top.
Well, we get to see the board first, which is what I like.
Yeah.
And I agree with you in general. There's a lot of these other horses don't do much for me.
Yeah.
The thing that strikes me, Paul, was the Team Valor connection. I mean, the ownership of Team Valor, this horse, I'm assuming, is able to run. So, but I mean, no sure thing. I mean, unless we hear some kind of story, we'll have to see. Now, You've got what do you got here? Second, you've got the 9 in second, and there are many horses. Hardly Choice is your second choice. There are a lot of horses coming out of 2 races, Paul, and there were 2 next out winners. One of them was this Worthington horse, which is a nice horse, and the other one, um, which we'll talk about, was a huge winner. Bluebirds Over, I believe, was a big winner on the synthetic. So a lot of these horses, Paul, are coming out of races that had live winners. But the problem is they lost by like 7, 8, 9 lengths. So
Yeah,
Paul,
right.
in general, Paul, I think this is the main theme of this race. Where do you put horses that have lost the good ones, but have lost by many lengths?
Well, I think this horse maybe had a little bit of, I'm not a huge fan when maidens in their first or second race get pinned down on the rail, whether it's dirt or turf. This horse went to the lead. The pace was honest enough. This isn't a bad move for Brian Lynch. Third time maiden starters on turf. Small sample, but 1 for 6, which is about 17%. I just think in general, Howard, that race has to be a much, much tougher race than this. So while I agree with you, it doesn't look good on paper. I just think that has to be a much, much tougher race than this. And, it's a by hard spun out of a smart strike mare. So the turf should be no problem at all. And, that was my thinking. I think if this horse goes to lead Saturday, he goes a lot further.
Kyle, I was going to have you talk. Wasn't sure
Mhm.
if you were ready. I didn't mean to steal your thunder. This is your top choice, Kyle.
Yeah, and literally Paul took the words right out of my mouth. That's exactly what I'm thinking. Looking at the Keeneland race, I mean, like we all know how obviously with these 2-year-olds, it's a lot better in the spring and Keeneland, but these Keeneland fall, I mean, winter maiden special weights for 2-year-olds are, especially on the turf, are not anything to sneeze at whatsoever.
Hey, Kyle, you're
Is it
still
still
going in
going
and out,
it?
buddy. I'm
Okay,
gonna have to. Yeah,
that's fine.
I don't know what's going on. I think. Well, I don't know if you have another. Is there another? Can you figure out something else, perhaps? Or
I'll try.
not?
Just let me work out.
Okay, sorry about that, Kyle. All right. I hate
Howard,
to
you
do.
mentioned Howard. Can I just say one more thing before we go to Pete? You mentioned that race last time, and I'm
Yeah.
looking at the buyer chats. 5 of the 6 horses who have come back out of that race have improved on their buyer speed figure.
Yes, they have. There you go. 69 to 70, 56 to 80. Well, some of them only. Okay, that's what the number. That is true. This is the math teacher in me now, Paul. Well, I mean, a 69 to a 70 to 54 to a 55.
Yeah, but look at the rest of
I
them,
wouldn't
though.
say
12
it's exactly
points.
a big leap.
Yeah, but 2 of them went up 12 points and one went up 11 points.
Okay. The
Well,
one that goes up 12.
and Miranda
Yeah.
Wrights has been a steady increase, and
Yeah,
that one at least is going the right way. But
It-
Paul, too, one thing we talk about on this show a ton is when we go back to when you're on the turf. This horse has a 118 time form. Again, it's only
Yeah.
one race. The next one has a 103. I've started to get in my head where if I see a horse who has a more than 10-point time form, early pace gap between them and the second one, especially on the turf, I might just put them in just so I don't lose to them anymore. And I mean, unless they're a complete dog against, much better horses or something. But in a race like this, if this horse can just shake away on the lead and not get any
Yeah.
pressure, why not?
There is quite a bit of speed in this race, which is why, assuming that's part of the reason, Pete, you're going with the Forest Southern Dream. I'll show the end of the last race. There are several horses coming out of that Bluebirds Over race, and Southern Dream will show was wide and made a nice move and finished second, albeit a distant second.
Yeah, it was distant, but again, look at came out of the 12 hole, which is tough, especially your second start. You come out of the 12, that's always difficult. Was far enough back, had to sort of navigate through, and then lost to a horse who came back next time and won a grade 3 race pretty impressively. So losing by 8 in that one, it's different than running, sixth by 8 and not doing anything. It sort of beat up the rest of the field. I mean, the third place horse was 2.5 lengths behind, so was clearly second best, even with the bad post and not necessarily the easiest of trips for a young horse.
Yeah, I mean, he was wide. He stayed on. Again, this is the horse that he was talking about, Bluebirds Over, that won the Gray Stakes at Woodbine for 2-year-olds. So, you would have to think that Southern Dream, the 13 here, he's got a higher knee action too, Pete. So I think he'll appreciate the dirt, and he ran perfectly fine. I guess my issue is what buyer is going to win this race, and is our first time starter capable of running in the 60s? I would think so,
You would think,
but we don't know. I've got Southern Dream in second also. I think he's live. I do want to mention
the breeding wasn't exactly great for turf on the
Yeah.
floor, but none again, like Paul said, none of these are world beaters. So I don't think anybody really jumps out even from a breeding standpoint. So I don't know if that means that much in a race like this.
I just, it's low profile connections. It just feels like someone that with bigger connections, or he costs 12,000. I don't know. I think Southern Dream might be more underneath type, but I have him second too, Pete. So I'm not just counting your top choice. I've got Be Well. I just want to mention real quickly. This is a Jack Sisterson trained horse who's coming out of the same race that we watched. I'm not going to show the replay, but this horse was wide as wide can be. It only lost to your horse Southern Dream by a few lengths, but I really like the breeding here, Pete. This is by English Channel. I have an AP Indy mare, so distance won't be a problem. Has been working on the turf. I think Be Well, to me, Pete and Paul, might be that sneaky horse that will jump up for Calumet with Tyler G also in the saddle. So this is an interesting play for me, the 8. By the way, I'll say this off the record. Well, not off the record. I'll say this without Kyle. That young man better figure out his technology. Otherwise, his new show may be no longer. It might be Paul's new show coming up in
Well, then we're definitely. What are we shooting for, the geriatric crowd then?
Wow!
Wow! Yeah,
Pete is firing tonight.
Pete, it's going to start at 4:00.
I was going to say, yeah, we're going to. Then I'm in. I can handle it. That's it.
The early bird special,
right before dinner. Right before dinner.
Yeah.
All right.
What do you mean before dinner?
I mean, we'll have the buffet during the show, and we'll be on it together. I always say this, but I guess you're probably like 3 years older than me, so I always joke. But I don't think we're too far in age, so it always sounds funnier. But
gosh, we have too much fun. All right, guys, let's go on to race 7 here. Seriously, we hope we'll hope to get Kyle back on here. I'm not sure what's going on with. I know it's for sure his technology, guys, not ours. All right, race 7. This is AM or PM for that new show, Paul, at 4:00.
Oh, AM would be real. Now would be good.
Oh gosh. All right. Here's one of the 5 favorite races that Paul will enjoy on the Tapeta. Listen, don't give it years and years, Paul, of handicapping synthetic Arlington. I got us. It's all good. These are 20 claimers down to 16. They're only going 5 furlongs. So it's going to be a fast race, Paul. You don't have to watch it for too long.
Yeah, I can lose quickly.
Yeah, that's true. It's a field of 7. Moorline favorite is the number 5. The number 1, Golden Isle, a Florida bred for Hertak and Panici. We'll go to you first, Pete. This is, I know for reasons we'll talk about at the end of the show, you really like this 3-year-old filly from Florida.
Well, and it was partially because I wanted to go deeper in the other races, and I didn't have a huge feel in this one. But the one thing you like, and it's weird seeing a horse, claimed so many times, but that's usually a decent sign sometimes if it's just a good horse that they're just trying to get back in their barn. But this one, 6 for 11, 8 out of 11 in the money at Gulfstream and on the synth, likes the distance, is moving up to 20 claimers, but I do like the Panici has stayed on multiple times, so has been on this horse through various trainer changes through the claims. So I like that he has that consistency on this horse. And then I just think from the 1 hole, this one may be able to just set a controlled pace. I mean, again, if you look at the time form, Golden Isle has a 113. The next horse has a 98. So maybe from the rail, this one just breaks, gets the lead, and then just can take him around the track pretty quickly.
Yeah, speed plays well on any surface. I've seen it play very well on synthetic. I guess the main question, Paul, is there anyone to go with this horse? Paul, you and I, once again, great minds think alike. We're going with the same horse, the number 5 Mercury Head, who actually I thought would be a little higher than 2-1 Moyline. For me, this is more of a class play. Paul, what was your thought here?
Well, yeah, I think the 1 or the 5 wins the race. I think there will be an even bigger discrepancy in the odds because, the 1 is 6 for 12 lifetime. goes to the lead every time, and you look at 5 furlongs, and he's going to the lead. So I just think the 5, in addition to the class, Howard, is going to have much more value. There is, a little bit of an unknown just because she has not run on synthetic, although as a Cantheros out of a Quiet American mare, I wouldn't anticipate it being a problem. Picks up Paco Lopez. As you said, how has run at Monmouth, has run at Laurel, has run at Oaklawn, has run well on turf, which is obviously a great indicator for synthetic. 3 starts on turf, a win, a second, and a third. So I just think that almost certainly one of these 2 wins, and I think the 5 is better value with a little more class.
I agree with everything. The other thing that I like about this horse, Paul, is she has shown speed in the past. I mean, you go back to Monmouth Turf. I mean, she was going 21 and 344. So I think, Paco's going to be aggressive here, guys. I don't think that the one is going to get away from the 5, assuming the horse breaks. We've been down this road 1,000 times, though. I mean, who knows about intent and who's going to break whatever, but those are our 2 horses mainly. Paul, you do have the 6 very quickly. I looked at this horse. I've got her underneath. I don't really like the direction this horse is going. I also think she's going to take money with Saez. I just think she's regressing while others are improving, perhaps.
Yeah, well, and I have her underneath as well. I picked her second. I think that if the 5 and 1 do hook up, and I agree, Howard. I think Paco is aggressive, but I see him getting a trip where he could sit right off the 1 and then make a move. But should those 2 hook up, it looks like this horse can come from behind, even though there are races where it looks like she regresses. There's a 6.5 furlong race in there that would fit here, a 6 furlong race. Yeah. 3 out of 4 in synthetic on the board, hasn't won. I'm kind of with you. I mean, I did throw in my caveman pick 5 as a third selection, but it's a short field, and I think that this horse perhaps has the ability to pick up some pieces from coming a little bit out of it.
Hey, Paul, she beat the 2 back too. She beat the favorite. Favorite ran out, so.
Yeah.
Correct.
If that one sort of fades on the lead, then this one is shown that can close on with that.
That was a 21 flat first quarter.
Yeah, sure, but you don't know. I mean, maybe they do that again. Who the heck knows? That's funny.
How about a 3-year-old, Howard? How about a 3-year-old who has been claimed 8 times already? Never seen it.
That's a lot of times. Paul, people are coming up with ideas for where to have your show.
Yes.
Where should post? Kyle, you missed it, Kyle. But if things don't work out with your tech, Kyle, then Paul's going to host a show for the geriatrics. Put in the comment where Paul should host his show for the 90-somethings out there.
And I'm not even 60 yet. Believe it or not, I'm not even 60 yet. Yeah.
No one gives
Kyle,
me
you want to try? Let's try one more time, Kyle. You've got
Sounds great.
You got
Sounds
the
great,
Kyle.
Yeah, so I literally no idea what changed. Absolutely no idea. But now everyone gets to look at my colorful microphone for an hour. So good on all of you. But yeah, talking to everything sounds good now, right?
It still sounds muffled, but everybody can hear you, so I think we're good for now.
Come on.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Apologize, guys. I apologize for everybody listening. The one, I'm sure Pete touched on it. I mean, this horse just gets the job done more often than not. And I love in these types of races where these horses are they're not as good as a lot of the other ones that we handicap on this show. I love horses, and a lot of these horses, they can pass, but like when you guys were going over the 6, like, that horse doesn't really get the job done ever. And that's what I was not seeing as a really good indication that I was going to put the 6 on top, because I was close between the 2. Because I mean, Howard knows my gripes with the man that's riding the 1. He rides my horses. He rides everyone else better than he rides my horses, but that's besides the point. That's a different type of show. But I just love the way that he's a bounce around for sure, going back and forth between 80 different barns in the past year. But I really do like that this horse is going to get in front. Looks there's a little bit of other speed in the race, but looks just miles quicker than everybody else. Hopefully he can get the lead by himself and never look back.
Or by herself,
by herself,
by the way.
Drink, hey, I'm tech.
D'Lo, thanks for joining the show. It's the favorite trying new things and no thanks. Totally understand that. Jim's got 6-5, Kyle, that you figure things out with your tech, which, by the way, it's still not perfect, but we'll keep going.
It's fine.
Jeff Amster's got an idea, Paul. Medicare Advantage with Broadway Joe as the as the sponsor.
I was thinking depends, but that would work too.
Kyle, just to let you know what's happening, because I know sometimes it's really loud and sometimes it's just soft. That's just really what's happening.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. He's fine. Everybody can hear it.
But is it better now that I'm closer?
It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. You're fine.
We'll leave you on. People just have to deal with it.
This is taking on a life of its own, Howard.
Oh man, what did I start here? All right, let's go on to the next race, guys. Let's go on to race. Now it's a kerfuffle. Let's go to race 8. Do you guys know why?
Matt, that would be great, Matt. If that worked.
Do you guys know why Kyle didn't like the jockey that won in the last race? By the way, Peter, Paul, do you know why?
No, other than you told him he was Italian.
Italian, that's what I was thinking.
That's exactly right.
I mean, he's been hanging out with you. You must be you Chicago people. You're supposed
correct,
to like Italians
Pete.
there.
In the meantime,
you can't go there.
Anything, man.
They're suburbs. They're suburb Chicago, Paul. They're not real Chicago.
Apparently not, Pete.
In the meantime, Saturday we're gonna be hanging out with a real Italian, right, Kyle?
Yeah, yes, we are.
Yeah, we will be. All right. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on here. All right, guys. If I have a dead animal in my front lawn tomorrow morning, I'm gonna blame you two, Pete and Paul. Race 8. We've got the Wait a While Stakes. It's $75,000. 2-year-old fillies. They're going 7.5. Short run, guys. Short run to that first turn. FYI for everyone. Here's the field. Let me go full screen. You see our picks on the bottom of the screen. This is a 11-horse field with the morning line favorite all the way stuck on the outside. The number 11, Delight, for Jonathan Thomas and Saez. Kyle, I'm going to let you go first. This is a horse that has a bad post, but has back class. Just raced in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Phillies turf.
Yeah, this was hard. This one was a hard one for me to put on top. I mean, there's so many others. I mean, there's not so many others, but there's 2 others in the race that I'm very keen on. But this horse just has so much more back class and so much more higher profile races, with beating, in my opinion, a lot better horses, and I'm sure a lot of people can attest to that as well. Obviously, she didn't run very well in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Phillies turf, but it's not too concerning, especially when dropping to a class like this. I'm not going to be too worried about stuff like that. And, people are going to bring up the outside post. I just think, like I said, with the back class and everything else, I think she's just fast enough to where she can make her own trip. And it is a short run to the first turn at Gulfstream at 7.5, but hopefully she can get over from the outside post. And I have trust in Saez to do that. And I'm not going to be too worried about it.
I'm going to make a bold statement. If Delight had an inside post, I still wouldn't like her, guys. There's so many things I don't like about this horse in this spot, but I'm not going to talk too long. I'll let Pete and Paul talk. Pete, let's go to you. Your top choice is a horse I've gotten third, and I have to say, and it's also Paul's top choice, I wasn't sure what to do with this horse, Pete, because I get mixed signals here. Talk about personal pursuit, and based on what you say, I'll piggyback. I'm sure you want me to show the replay of the last race, though.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the things, and it's one of those obvious, unfortunately, it's one of those obvious trip issue races where, anybody who watches a replay can spot it. It wasn't like a secretive bad trip, but
she's the 8 here, everyone.
Yeah.
I'll just show the whole thing, Pete.
I mean, you can't miss it right out of the gate. Oh, wait till they break. And then right out of the gate, if they ever, I want to say this one was a slow one. Yeah. Right out of the gate, you could see the horse, the 8, the grayish, gets bumped, and if you look at the head on, just sort of gets taken out, I think, by the 9, and then just drops way back, which isn't necessarily, I mean, if you look at this horse's first 2 races, although they were on dirt, much closer to the pace. So this was something that this horse isn't used to. Now you'll see it's a pretty short race, so we can get right to it. Still trying to figure out a way to sort of get some room, and you watch there sort of weaving. Yeah. And then I like just sort of the athleticism for a young horse, like right here, just sort of finally kicks in, gets a gap, and
Do you?
Alvarado.
I didn't know what to make. I don't know, Pete. I didn't see like an explosion here. I didn't get the feeling the horse wants to go long. I really don't. I don't know. Yeah. I
Well, I
guess
mean,
I'm mad
long.
here, Pete.
I,
I'm a
I
lot
don't
of
know if
math for
I
me
don't know
here.
if this is long necessarily. It's longer, but I
Well,
don't know
it's two
about long.
turns. I mean,
Yeah, it's 2 turns, but I mean, it's fine. I mean, you don't know. It's out of a tappet and a kitten's joy, so that
yeah.
doesn't not scream at least a little bit underneath. And again, this is I was hoping for a little bit more of a price because I love this race. I thought this race was awesome, and it just seems like it came up. It came up pretty even, aside from maybe the class that Delight has. But I'm just hoping. I mean, this was a $500,000 purchase. I like that we're getting Gaffleone back, who had it already once before. Working pretty steady again. You know, the works have been, had a bullet a few back, but then it's just been steady. Nothing spectacular, but just has been sort of steady coming in. So I'd rather take the shot here and hope that Delight, the outside post, and the fact that that horse, the 2 races that Delight won were with really slow fractions, and it was sort of on the lead with slow fractions. So I'm hoping if that horse can't break cleanly and doesn't get out to the lead or get close, then it's sort of maybe set up for this horse. So I think it'll be closer in this race and won't have to come from as far behind.
Um, Paul, I'm assuming you echo all those sentiments. Listen, the horse can win. I've got her third. What do you think about the 3 sprint races to start her career, Paul? I mean, if she's meant to go long, wouldn't Cassie intend her to go long? I just have a lot of mixed signals. Maybe I'm overthinking it. I mean, her buyers say she has a great chance to win. I don't know, Paul. I just have some mixed signals with this horse, and I'm not really sure why.
Well, I will tell you one thing about Cassie Howard. I wouldn't put a lot of I wouldn't overemphasize what he does with young horses. You know,
Okay.
he will run a horse in a different distance just to get him or her a race or a different surface. He often has dirt horses that he will start on turf just because. So, I will tell you this, Howard. I'm going to disagree with you on one thing. I think if the 11 had any post 8 on in, I think she would be a romp in this race. I think she is
Really?
much the best in this race. That Jessamine race, yes, she did have it. It wasn't fast. I get it. But, this horse took some money. 9-1 in the Breeders' Cup she wasn't exactly the longest shot on the board. I just think, and you brought it up, Howard, it's not a short run. It's not. You can't even call it a run to the turn. It's like the gate opens and they're on the turn. I think it's the type of horse you have to bet against. Having said that, I got to use the horse in the pick 5. But as the horse is going to be the favorite from that post, I think you have to try to beat her. But I do think she's the best horse in the race.
Well, let me just push back for everyone, and if I'm wrong, that's okay. I've got Delight as a C, as in cat right now. What, other than the 2 back and the Jessamine, which I liked her, by the way, that day, and I bet her that day, where she walked on the lead. She's not walking. There's a lot of speed in this race. What race other than the Jessamine tells you that she's like some cinch in this race, even with an inside post? She's run several races already. The best buyer she got was the 74. She's basically a high 60s buyer, where a lot of these other horses have big upside, and she's going to be 8-5. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe she'll just win anyway. I want to talk about my horses, guys, because I have a pretty strong opinion in this race, if you can tell. Juniper Marshmallow. Great name. I bet her last time. I thought she was very good. I think this run, to me, was extremely underrated. Okay. I know she got a 54. I get it. I'm not going to show the whole race. Pletcher does not win a lot, guys. First time out going 2 turns on turf. It was very... sorry, I didn't show. Let me back up here. She breaks fine. You see the St. Elias colors. The turf was very soft, guys. At this point, this was towards the end of the Keeneland meet before they took a break before the Breeders' Cup and before it hardened up. She got a very nice trip, no question. You see, she got steady back there on the inside, but she saved ground most of the way. I'll tell you what I really like here is on the turn. Is she got outside of the 3 again? The horse I like here is the 4. She has to wait. You see, she studied there a little bit again. If you watch carefully, they finally got her to the outside, and this is what I really like. She gets to the outside. She was in amongst horses as she tips out into the 5 path, and I really like this explosion. Now, this horse to her outside right here, guys, just came back and won by 10 lengths. That's right, 10 lengths at turf waste. This 2-horse came back and won by 10 lengths, and she's goofy, right? She's on her left lead. Once she she's gonna right there, boom. She switches back and watch the gallop out. She was never letting this 2 go by, at least in my opinion. You see right here, you see the horse like is fighting with the 2. The gallop out is good. This 2 is never getting by. I just think there's a lot more to give here, guys. A lot more. And I like this 9 quite a bit. I know, Paul, you have this horse in second. I think this horse can easily jump up to like a 70, Paul. Easily.
Yeah, no, it's straight A. It's A team for me. I have no arguments whatsoever with that. None. And you get Irad to boot. Louis has ridden the 11 4 out of 5 and won a stakes with her and rode her in the Breeders' Cup, so it's no surprise that he ends up there. But yeah, no, I would agree, Howard. I think the 9 does have upside, and that was it looked like Louis was going to wait as long as he could to keep the inside trip last time, and he had to make a decision on the turn, and as it turned out, he made the right decision because he probably wouldn't have won. Things just didn't open up the way they sometimes do. That's a tough part of turf racing, right? Every once in a while you get the inside trip, but more often than not, when you're in the inside, you get stopped and you have people like me swearing at you.
Very quickly, Pete, before we go on the next race, Mally Moo. Now, this is a horse you have third. Did anyone watch the replay?
Yeah,
I'm a sicko.
Yeah,
did you?
Yeah.
I watched the Dundalk replay. Okay, guys, I have no idea who she beat, but she was in amongst horses, rating very kindly. It was a 13-horse field, Paul and Kyle, and she was favored at 2.25 to 1. She tipped to the outside and exploded by the whole field. And now Jack Sisterson and Rockingham Ranch acquires this horse by English Channel, who costs $112,000. Pete, I think there's something here. I have no idea how good she is, but if she wins this race, it would not shock me one bit.
No, and I like the price that she
Absolutely.
came out at. And I mean, the time form rating was a little low. That was a little, but you don't know with those, and it was on the synth, and you never know if the rating is. I don't know a ton about Dundalk and how the ratings, if they're sort of legitimate in terms of how close they are to ours.
Yeah.
But again, this one, like you said, if it takes a step forward, it's out of English Channel and a Lonhro Dam, so it's someone. The turf should be no problem for this horse, and I love that race, and I love the way. Again, who knows if she beat anything of consequence, but you like a horse that could just explode like that. Because I had the same note on the 9. In my note, it was exploded once got through the seam, and this horse sort of did the same thing. Was way in the back and just sort of rallied like you'd want a horse, and it was against a big field, like you said. So it wasn't passing 5-6 horses; it was passing a whole ton of horses.
She's been in Florida for a while, Pete. She has 2 works down at Palm Meadows. And we like to teach on this show. The 73 time form, subtract about 15 points-ish. That's a high 50s. That's actually better than the 9-horse if you go by the buyers, right? So, again, I don't know, guys. I think the 7 is fascinating. Delight doesn't have upside and has a horrible post, and there's other speed in the race. I'm just completely against the 11. Either Kyle will be absolutely right, and I'll look stupid. But that's okay. Actually, Pete and Paul, neither one of us have the 11 either in our top 3, which is amazing.
Yeah, straight. It was a post position thing with me. The only thing you better worry about with the 7, Howard, don't be surprised when Leperoux has this horse about 38 lengths behind on the backstretch.
Paul's so mean with the job. Hasn't Leperoux won like on the lead before, by the way?
He does occasionally, but it depends on the horse, and this doesn't look like a horse he's going to send to the lead.
So mean, Paul. So mean. All right, guys, let's go on to race 9. Let me switch the screen. Kyle, I'm going to have you go first here. This is a starter optional claiming 20 down to 12.5. This is the other race that's on the the Tapeta. It's a mile and a 16th. This is a big field, as you guys can see. It's a field of 11. The point line favorite is the number 10, Fly the W, for all you Cub fans out there, for Debona and Saez. And Kyle, you're going to go with the 9, Racecraft, for Crichton and Irad at 8 to 1. And as I bring up the PPs here, Kyle and my good friends, I thought this race was absolutely impossible.
That's one way to put it for sure. I look, maybe people are gonna come at me because I'm not picking Fly the W out of spite, but I swear to God I'm not. Um, look, Racecraft, he picks up IRAD. Crichton is a very good trainer in his own right. People don't a very underrated trainer, especially in a circuit
Yeah,
like Gulfstream.
for sure.
He paired Buyer tops. This race has a pretty decent amount of speed in it. Some cheap, some really good, such as Fly the W just to his outside. But 3 back that race was great on the Tapeta. He's been racing an optional company for the last 3 races. Has performed really well in all of them except the last race, where he was a little bit belated, and that is. But look at, I mean, I don't know how we know Gulfstream has their timing problems, but 26 to the quarter is that correct?
Oh yeah.
That's
Oh yeah.
that's unbelievable how slow that is.
They were walking. In fact, did you see who picked Racecraft also, by the way?
I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So
I'll
I'm
let
rolling
you
with
take
you,
the floor,
Kyle.
man.
This horse has been involved in slow pace after slow pace. I mean, and the timing is not an issue anymore. They figured that out for several weeks now, Kyle. They've actually got a running clock, if you've noticed, people. So um, this is a closer who's been just into slow pace after slow pace over and over and over again, Kyle. This
Mhm.
race seems like there's a lot more speed to it, don't you think?
I agree, and that's exactly why I went
I
with Racecraft on
Yep.
top instead of a horse like Fly the W.
Yep, I agree. I've got Fly W second. I'll just real quick, and I'll let Pete and Paul talk mainly. I like Saez. The last race, he was on the lead in that slow pace. But then if you watch the replay, guys, there's a horse that rushed up, and he was basically in an extended battle from really like the half-mile pole to the wire. And some might say, Pete, well, it was a slow pace. But yeah, when you're battling and just have people breathing on you, or not people, horses. Well, maybe the jockeys were
They
breathing
might
on
have
you
been.
too.
Yeah, who knows?
But anyway, that's for another show. Uh, when you got the horses breathing on you, Pete, I don't really care. I think it does matter, that they're in those claustrophobic spots and they just feel the pressure of one horse on another. I actually think this horse might be better with a faster pace stalking, but I've got Fly the W second. I don't have a real strong opinion in this race at all. Pete, you're going with the 6, Wicked Finn, who's a horse I've got in for third. Why do you like this horse?
Yeah, I thought this is the one that was sort of battling with the Fly the W. So this horse was doing a lot of the dirty work on the outside of Fly the W, and they, like you said, it was slow, but the first quarter was slow. But then if you look, you were getting like a 23, then a 23. So it picked up on the middle of the race. So
Yeah,
it wasn't like, yeah, if you check out the incrementals there, it wasn't completely slow the whole way, and they were doing that
yeah,
going head to head, and they both pretty much held pretty strong. I mean, when you watch the race, and I love this because this reminds me of the old harness days where you get the same horses in a race run back the next time,
yes,
and this one you have them all coming back. Some of them had maybe had a little excuse in the last one, and you can look for that. But I actually like the 6 because I thought did the dirty work, was sort of pressing the pace between, then led and did get run down, but I think that was just a byproduct of maybe just doing a little too much in the middle of the race. I was
yeah.
thinking hopefully can work out a little bit of a similar trip, but maybe not press so much, and has shown the ability to sit a little bit further off, hopefully. So if they could do that, and he could do that and then not get caught up in any sort of pace battle, then I think this one has as good a shot as any. And out of those horses, I like the 5-1 price for a horse who just ran second in a tough race against basically the same field.
Yeah, Pete, the middle half was 46-3. I mean,
Yeah, I
think
mean
about that,
that's
guys.
quick
So,
when especially when you're
yeah,
knocking heads. That wasn't like a
yeah,
soft, easy on the lead, and had a nice work. Had the nice work last time. So um, on the turf, but still, it was still a nice work. So it seems sharp. I like when a horse is sort of sharp going into a race, runs well, then comes out and works again well after
yeah,
that. Maybe just holds that sharpness a little bit. So
yeah.
that's what I kind of like about the 6.
I just mentioned early speed, and Paul, you'll have the last word here. Man on the Moon's got to go, guys, right? With Tyler from the inside. I mean, got to go. It's got speed. Major wager has been going 5 and then stretch out, probably mid pack. But the number 4, JP Hellish, you would think has to go. Mamza's not slow. Wicked Finn is not slow. There just seems like there's a lot more speed in this race than the race replay if you watch that last race that we're talking about. Paul, any quick thoughts about this race in general before we move on? It's the last one.
No, other than I picked the 10, and this is the type of race you shouldn't be picking the favorite. This would be, you could go very deep in this race, in my opinion. I don't have a strong opinion. The only thing I would say is the favorite, Michael, what are the odds? The morning line is, let's see, 3-1, 7-2. Yeah, 7-2. You might have a favorite going off 3-1 or 7-2. So that's a little easier to stomach. But I agree with you, Howard. I think the 5 is going to be forwardly placed with Jose. So there's another one to add the equation. Obviously, Pete 6, who I picked second, has speed. And from the 10, Louis really has to send, doesn't he, from out there? So
no, I think he's going to sit. I think he's going to sit a little bit. I mean, he's got to go a little bit. Yeah. I mean, but
you don't want to sit six. You don't want to sit 6 wide.
Yeah. I mean, it just sure looks like there's going to be a lot of pace in this race. We could talk about this race forever. We're going to move on because there's other interesting horses. But I think it's practically an all button, guys. I mean, it's really difficult. The last race, and Kyle, I know you got to get going. We're going to have you go first, Kyle, and then also we're going to have you give your pick 5 so you can get going. The last race of the pick 5 sequence here is, of course, race 10. This is the get out leg, so I'm pressing a million different buttons now. There we go. There's on the bottom of the screen, our my wonderful co-host can see the picks for the first time now. Race 10, the get out leg. 16 claimers going 1 mile and a 16th on the turf. You can see the field here. The morning line favorite is the number 9, Performing Arts, for, again, Bobby DeBona and Saez. Saez getting a lot of attention here. And if you look at the bottom of the screen, there are a lot of 9s. In fact, 3 of us, everyone except Pete, has the 9 as the top choice. And Kyle, Pete's got the 9 as the second choice. What do you like about Performing Arts to close out the pick 5, Kyle?
Yeah, and right after Kyle finally gives you an 8-1 shot, we're going right back to the chalk, baby. But that race 2 back is exactly the race I'm looking at here to basically run the exact same race. He's been running. His last race was in Allowance Company. Granted, it ran really evenly, but that was even longer at 1 mile and 3/16. So I can at least say that, maybe he just doesn't want to go that long and revert back to 3. I mean, he threw 2 or 81s and an 85 back at about 1 mile and a 16th distance. DeBona is really good, especially out at Gulfstream these past few meets. Saez picks up Saez. I mean, there's really a lot to like about this horse, and this horse kind of is one of those horses that is able to make his own trip. I was right, at least. Gets to make his own trip, a little bit of tactical speed in there. So I'm really hoping this horse can get mid pack on the turn for the first turn and be able to finish at the end with Saez.
Kyle, just so we can let you go, and we're going to show Kyle's pick 5 detour real quick. Pete, Paul, we'll come back to our picks here in just a second. Kyle, by the way, I just sent you a text that you might want to look at as well later. You don't look at it right now. I think I have an idea of your sound issues, but anyway, Kyle's pick 5 is 7, 8, 9 with 1, 6 with 4, 11 with 9, 10 with 4, 9, 10 for $36. Real quick, Kyle, your thoughts on your construction here?
Yeah, and like I said, obviously the construction isn't that good, but we all have a $50 budget around here we got to meet. That Paul, I'm sure, is going to have some words on earlier, so I won't touch it. But the construction's obviously not very good. The main goal for always for me to skinny up my tickets is to find a single. This sequence is just really hard, to be perfectly honest with you guys and everyone out there listening. It's extremely hard to pick one. I mean, Delight, for me, I know Howard's against it. Delight would be like my probably most likely single, but it's not a good single whatsoever. Howard, try and find another one, man. I got nothing for you. So this is honestly for you, all you Wednesday show folks out there later. This is probably a sequence I wouldn't play just because I'm not confident enough in one of my singles to be able to play it with a relatively low budget. And that's just the way I play, because I like to press up many with a low budget, just for all you out there. But if you can find a single in here, I would suggest playing it. It's a very good sequence. You can catch a lot of high prices, and that would definitely bring up the ticket for sure. So single spread, or do whatever you got to do. But obviously, like I said, construction's not good on my ticket. Got to work it through, but that's where we're going with the $36 ticket.
All right. Well, I do have a single actually on my ticket, but people will see it here in just a minute. Kyle, thanks. Don't worry about the sound. I'm sure we'll figure that out. No worries. Good luck with that big car purchase. I'm excited for you, and we'll talk again soon, Kyle. Thanks.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right,
See you,
take care.
Kyle.
Bye, Kyle. All right, guys, let's go back to the PPs here. Let's see, Paul. Anything you want to top performing arts? We can talk about the number 5. You've got second here. Benelux. 21 money line. Why talk about this one, Paul?
Yeah, I think, Howard, this might be one of your classic reverse try key plays. Play this horse underneath second and third.
I like it.
Yeah, well, you know what? And, he wasn't breathing down her neck, but Fly the W, we just talked about, is the favorite in a $20,000 optional claimer in the preceding race. This horse is in a 16,000 regular claimer here. And, it looks slow. So obviously he's going to need some pace assistance. I get it. He's coming off the synthetic, but he has 5 career wins, all on turf. This race is on turf. Despite what Kyle said, Panici's not bad. We don't hold the anti-Italian grudge that Kyle and Howard do.
No.
So I just think this horse, 20-1, Howard, this horse has a chance to blow up the board.
Not true. Oh, sorry.
Hey, Paul,
I got distracted.
I was with you, Paul. I like this one underneath, too. The thing that scared me was I just thought it would need a hotter pace to get involved late.
He could.
And that was my worry, at least my worry in terms of like a pick 5 ticket of putting a horse that I think could win the race on like an A line for a pick 5 ticket. That was the only concern I had with this one, but I was with you.
This would be a nice horse underneath second and third if he's got back numbers. Obviously has back numbers on the turf and switching back to a preferred surface. Paul, I think you're maybe a little. Wasn't Kid O'Don Pete the 5 that day when you had him at 50-1?
Might have been.
I think he was. We'll go back and look at it.
Yeah, I mean, Howard, this horse has an 80. He won a turf race at Gulfstream for the same class with an 80 buyer.
Yeah,
I think it's a great pick. I think it's very interesting for second. Let's see, Pete, you've got the 4 on top, Dazzling Time, who I think I had in the mix, right? I had second. What do you like about this 9-2 6-year-old?
Yeah, this is another one. It's similar. There's some back races that I think can win this one. And then if you look, the last one I could sort of toss. They went to the synth. This horse doesn't run well on the synth. There's only 1 for 9. So I could toss that one. It didn't run poorly, just didn't run great or anything. It was really good 2 back. And then it was a decent field too. And then if you go 3 and 4 back, I think this horse, maybe the 1 1/8 was a bit long. This horse doesn't run well at a 1 1/8 and just doesn't seem to have that same kick. But a Montauk Summer has become a really good horse. Hieroglyphics is a really good horse. JP Hellish is running earlier in this card and actually is an okay horse running in a quality race. I forget, but I mean, it was decent company, but I think that distance was a little too much, so it maybe muddies the form up a little bit. But if you go back, now I'm seeing 87s, 84s, 85s, and those aren't like last year. They're just earlier this year, and it's sort of moved around from surfaces and had a claim in the middle of it. But I kind of like this one. And then, I mean, I need a little bit of pace because I think there's no way this horse is going to be super close. So you need some pace to get this one there, and that's the only thing that scares me because I don't see a ton of pace in here. But I have the 7, and me and you both have the 7.
Pete, I am scared to death of this horse if I'm alive to something big.
Well, that's why I didn't want to leave. I think I leave it off my ticket for the show, but it was actually on my original ticket. Because of you're probably going to say the same thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go talk. I mean, back numbers, lone speed. I mean, if he gets loose and these others don't fire, this horse can absolutely win. And it's funny at all.
Yeah, and it's funny because if you look at it, obviously there's been some speed on the synth, but if you go back to the turf races, this horse was almost a pure speed horse in a few of those. So you go, well, what happened to that? And so and it's not like they were super slow figures. I mean, you look at those time form figures, they're half decent. They're not fast, but they're not crawling around. So I thought, if you can get to that in a race, again, Howard, we said it. This one is on the turf. This horse has a 13-point time form early pace advantage on the next horse, and it's between a 93 and an 80. So an 80 isn't fast by any stretch. So I think, yeah, if this one gets loose at 20, yeah, I'd be happy watching this one run around the track at 20 to close out a pick 5 for sure.
And Andy's got the 8th best jockey in the race, which is also a feather in his cap.
I mean, Derby winner, Paul, Derby winner, greatest
Pete,
ride.
I said he's the 8th best. He's better than 2 or 3 of them.
Greatest ride in the history of horse racing, pretty much.
Yeah, right.
So I'm not sure. I mean, that was Rich Strike carrying him with his greatness, but
Paul, we start the show with the wonderful, heartwarming, touching story.
And I degenerate.
Of Cody's wish, and you blow it all to shreds with your vitriol as usual, Paul. Paul's betting dollar always gets in the way of his gentle, kind heart.
It's bitter old man can't keep that. He can't keep that stuff down.
Peter's really sad to see on a weekly basis.
Howard, I only have so much goodwill to go around, and then I run out. I can't last an hour. You know that.
It's past 9 o'clock. That's why he has to do his show at 4, so he can be a lot happier in the day.
Well, since it is getting late, let's go to our pick 5s. And since Paul was on time, one of my students, Paul, on tonight's show was a little bit late with his pick, so he gets to. I would say he goes last, but then again, Kyle had to leave, so Pete would have been last. But anyway, Paul, you're going to go first, and you said in your pick 5, and you know what I looked at right away, and I said, here we go again with another ticket more than 50. Paul's got 7-9 with 1-5-6 with 4-9-11 with 6-10 with 5-8-9 using that bomb in the last race, Paul. I love that use because that last race, to me, if the 9 doesn't fire, could be anyone.
Yeah, and I'm a conscientious objector, Pete, to Howard's very gratuitous, arbitrary $50 number. So. So what I did was, I narrowed it down, as you could see in the first leg. Not a very creative ticket, but I did want to have that 5. If in the unlikely event I get there, obviously anything with the 5 is going to be paying about 5 times much as anything else, other than your 7. And frankly, that's a good reason to use that horse if you like them. But I went with basically the horses I picked in my top 3. In the 7th, I said there were 2 very likely winners, but I did throw in Saez as a 3rd. The horses we talked about in the 8th, I have to use the light, even though I don't like the post, but I'm not getting beat by that horse. And then I went only 2 deep. I went with, I think, the 2 horses we talked about, Fly the W. And Pete, I believe you picked the 6, Wicked Fit. I'm going to try to get through that leg with just 2. And then if I ever get to the end, I'll be rooting for the 5 to blow it up.
No, that'd be pretty cool.
Love it.
Pete, before I show your pick 5, I'm looking at YouTube right now. Guys, we have 12 likes. Come on, Pete. Help out some horse racing brothers out, people. Come on. Smash that like button. Please. We got like 50. We have like almost 100 people watching on YouTube. We probably got like 200 or 300 people watching live. 12 likes? I mean, Paul, some of your vitriol, rubbing off on some of our viewers. Come on.
We started off with
hit that smash button, guys.
We started off with Cody's wish. People can't like that column. I mean, come on, Howard.
I don't know. Got to hit that like button. Pete, your pick 5, $48, 3-4-7-9 with 1. I like that single with 3-4-7-11 with 6-9-10 with 4-9. You're a single that speed horse in the 5 furlong synthetic race and just hope that she wires the field. I believe, right? Wires the field, and then you're going to spread elsewhere.
Yeah, the first race I didn't like very much, and the favorite was that Pletcher horse, that first-time starter, and I didn't necessarily like it. But, I mean, you don't trust enough of the other horses to leave that horse off as the favorite. So I went 4 deep. We didn't talk about the 3. That was sort of my price play at 12-1. Like you said, in the second leg, a lot of us sort of like the 1 and the 5, and it's at 9-5 and a 2-1 shot, and even the 6 is a 4-1. So you don't want to put too many of those in. It just sort of blows the ticket up. I would use a couple. I actually like the 7 at 15 as a B, so I would have that one as sort of my price play in case the 1 goes down. But I do like having speed. If I'm gonna single, at least I know that horse is going to give me a run for the most part. In the third leg, I included the light even though I'm with you, Howard, I don't love the horse. But again, if the back class comes through and none of my other long shots come in, I don't want to lose to that horse, especially because my other ones are prices. But I think it's a tough race and went deep. I went the 6 horse in the next race is the one I really like a lot, and then I went with the 9, who I think you and Kyle both have, and then the 10, who I think Paul might have had. So we're sort of all on the same horses ultimately in that race at the top. And then the last one, I was sort of throwing my hands up in the air and said, you know what, the hell with it. I'm just going to pick my top 2 choices. They're 3-1 and 9-2, so it's not super low, but I don't think there'll be a huge favorite there, and then try and close it out with them. But I did have the 7, but if I added the 7, it took me to 72, and that was way over the limit. So God forbid if you do something like that, I might.
I only
banned
go
from
over
the
by
show.
$4, Pete. You can't go over by
Yes.
$22.
In my own ticket, I would include that 7 because I'd like to have that bomb speed horse in the last race and hope that that one just runs around the track.
I've got the bomb speed horse as a B as in boy right now in the last race beat. I am how you guys feel about Delight is how I feel about the 7 in the last race. And I know it's totally different odds, but like I am not gonna get beat ideally by the 7. Was it Sassy but Smart? Yeah.
Yeah.
In the last race. That's just I've lost too many times the horse is on the lead in turf races, and I don't think Delight's getting the lead. So if I lose to her at 8-5, so be it. My pick 5 ticket. 4, 6, 7, 8 with 1, 5 with 4, 7, 9 with 6, 7, 9, 10 with 9. It's a $48 ticket, and I'm going to a bit selfishly, not arrogantly, because listen, this is a tough game. I had a nice score last weekend, guys, as I put out on Twitter for I think 1,600 with a cheap ticket. So okay, there we go. Paul gets his 10% age bonus.
Excellent,
sure, why
Jim.
not? Normally I wouldn't go 1-5 in the second leg, guys. I've advised people in general not to go too deep with too short prices in a small field. But if I were just playing a short caveman ticket, I guess I would just use 2 short price horses. But in reality, I would probably single someone there. 4, 7, 9. I'm also got the 6. The 6, what is it? Wicked Finn, getting a lot of play on this show in the second to last leg. People should take a look at that horse. And then I would single 9. I would single Performing Arts because to me, if it's not that horse, it could be just about anyone in the last race. And I think Saez on this. Saez wants to win this riding title, guys. So does Iran, Jose, and Tyler. But when you have really top-notch riders riding in these sort of nondescript last races, to me, guys, I give them a little extra credit for that. So I think this horse is well meant, and I think is probably ready to run. And I think Saez is an excellent rider, and I think that's the best horse. So I would single in a smaller ticket there, $48. Penn State Scott, who's breathing on me? Guys, we've had way too much. Man, this show is fun. I can't say enough, guys. And you guys are part of the reason, of course, that that's a lot of fun, along with our fantastic, creative viewers. Paul, I'll close it out with this. I think we have a fan of the show, listener, viewer, who has a little money lately that could probably help you, to get to that $70 mark, whatever, if you wanted, or maybe you can give me some more money to allow you guys to go over 50. I think we're all talking. I think you know the person we're talking about. He's been pretty successful lately with some of his bets and contests. Maybe I can ask him to provide my co-host with a little larger ticket. More than 50.
I'm looking forward to meeting him in person in Saratoga Springs. So it's a done deal. And you're invited too, Howard.
Thank you, Paul. I appreciate that.
And Pete, you're invited too. You got to come up.
Yes.
Whitney weekend, Pete. Be there or be square.
That's the plan. That's
Pete,
the
you
plan.
got to come up now. Come on.
Yeah. That was the weekend that me and my cousin who you met, he goes every Whitney weekend. So we were thinking that was the weekend we were thinking of going anyway. So we have to just shore up the plans a little bit.
It's going to be the social event of the year, Howard, is going to be the Jeff Mora barbecue.
It's going to be great. I can't wait, guys. Seriously, I cannot wait for that. Guys, we've had a great time tonight. We talked about a lot of different things. Again, Paul's article, Pete, up on our website right now. And if you don't want to go there, you can go. Paul, where can they check it out other than our website?
Thisishorseracing.com. And thank you, Howard, for bringing it up. I appreciate it. I do take a lot of pride in that what I do there. Not just that call, just in working for those guys in general. But there's a million stories in horse racing, and this just is one of those that you can connect with on so many different levels. And I appreciate you bringing it up.
And we actually there's a link to the actual site because we just have sort of an excerpt on our website. So we didn't want to sort of grab the whole thing. So we have a link there. So it'll take you right to Paul's article. So you don't have to search for it. It'll take you right to the This Is Horse Race. Whatever. I just butchered the name, but
This is horseracing.com.
That's what I said, right? That's what I started to say. Yeah. So we have the link there as well.
Perfect. Thanks, Pete and Paul. Appreciate it. Next week, not sure. This is a weird time of year right now with racing. We might have a end of the year show, like kind of a special show. We're definitely gonna do a handicapping show. This is why everyone needs to smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell because we're in a little bit of a weird time right now with our show scheduling. But we'll definitely have a show next Thursday night, and I would almost guarantee we'll have one more show earlier in the week, just not sure when. And then the week of the 19th, and I'm going to talk to my co-host because I'm going to be traveling. I believe Pete is going to be hosting the show and it's going to be a big show because it's the opening day at Santa Anita with the Grade 1 Malibu and a lot of other grade stakes. It's a big stakes day, and I believe Pete will be hosting that show. And maybe I'll drop in there at the end like I have before if my schedule allows for it.
Pete, you have to let him in, Pete. He could be in green room purgatory.
I'll just keep checking him out. I'll just keep clicking him right out, Paul. Don't worry about it.
All right. Well, that's cool. All right. So for Pete Visco and Paul Hallen, I hope you guys have enjoyed episode 213. We've had a lot of laughs, a lot of fun, a very challenging pick 5 sequence. Hope you all played at Gulfstream, and if one of us hits it, I'm sure we'll be sending it out. Last thing. Please follow these guys on Twitter, these guys and Kyle, because we send out great information on Twitter. Paul talked about his article. It's on Twitter. If you don't, I know my followers have gone up tremendously since the show, its inception, and I'm over 1,200 now. But, Pete's a great follow. Paul's a great follow. Please follow Kyle because he's going to be more prominent on the show coming up in January. So follow these guys on Twitter. We got some shout outs too, guys. If you saw on Twitter for some other people that are in the game and co-hosts, and that was very nice. So thanks to any of you out there who gave us some shout outs on Twitter earlier today. But again, thanks to Kyle, Pete, and Paul. It's been your host, Howard Kravitz, episode 213 of the HHH Racing Podcast. Good luck to everyone at Gulfstream this weekend with your pick 5s. Have a great night. Take care.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
All right.